Daniel, hello. What new details have emerged now? Bring us up to date after Андерс Беринг Breivik admitted his guilt.
Yes, as you say, the suspect has admitted the crime. He says it was an appalling yet necessary act, and he adds that it was needed to shake up Norwegian society. He claimed it wasn't a crime. More details are emerging about the suspect, that he posted a bizarre 1,500-page book where he says how to make a bomb, and I quote, once you decide to strike, it's better to kill too many than not enough, or you risk reducing the desired ideological impact of the strike. There are also violent anti-Muslim views on that site. Now, to just remind you what happened, there was a car bomb explosion here in the city centre, government headquarters, and just a few hours later, apparently he travelled just outside Oslo to an island where, gathered in a police uniform, he took children around him. He had a gun, and because of the blast here, the children were expecting that there were lots of policemen with guns around at the time, so they weren't surprised by that. And then he began to shoot, shouting, "I'll kill everyone, everyone must die." Now, we have new pictures of swimmers, of people swimming for survival, swimming for their lives, hiding in the rocks, of a 10-year-old boy actually being rescued. Now, today is a day of mourning. There's a memorial service being held just a few hundred meters from here in Oslo Cathedral, and the court hearing is on Monday.
All right, Daniel, you are in Oslo right now. How are the people feeling there since these shocking attacks?
Yes, tensions are high. People are still trying to figure out how something like this could have happened. The police say there still may be more casualties, up to 97 recorded, and there is criticism that it took them from an hour to an hour and a half after receiving information of the attack on the island, that it took them over an hour to get to the scene and to stop the massacre. There's also been criticism that they were looking for Muslims initially. They were saying it was a Muslim attack. The police say that it was difficult to get to the island. They had to find transport there. Stories are emerging of immense heroism of ordinary people who rescued fellow victims, who went back into the danger area here in the city centre. But also there is growing criticism here in Oslo of government integration policies which seem to have backfired. More now in this report.
Brave Christina Ilke was hit by the Oslo car bomb explosion. In a daze and surrounded by broken glass, she stayed in the blast zone to help the wounded.
The waiters just standing chatting, and then suddenly you could just feel like it was like kind of like a fist just hitting through your body. People after, they had like glass bits in their eyes, covered in blood. You know, they got smashed glass all over them, the skin and everything.
This shop owner patched up victims before giving out hot drinks. As a nation which has never suffered at the hands of terrorists before, he says, Norwegians just didn't know how to react.
A lot of alarms from cars and buildings, of course, and people shouting, screaming, running around.
This man's wife suffered severe shock when their windows were blown out by the blast, but he says they're lucky to be alive. His thoughts go out to the many young victims of the second attack.
I think about all the children who was killed in the island. I think it's for all the parents. This is a catastrophe.
The two atrocities produced many acts of heroism, but as the dust settles on the world's worst mass shooting, experts say there's also a rising anger that the attacks were allowed to happen in the first place. Anger that authorities ignored dozens of hate messages from suspect Андерс Беринг Breivik.
We haven't really been prepared for right-wing extremism.
Breivik expressed fury at the government's open-door policy on immigration in numerous blogs and Twitter feeds. Analysts add the shootings may reflect growing national opposition to failed immigration policies.
The political establishment of Norway are relatively well-off people that live in areas where there are simply no immigrants. So that there's a poor people in Norway that are being pushed out of places they used to live in, and it's also their jobs that are in jeopardy.
Muslims claim there's disappointment that the killer turned out to be white.
They want this guy to be Muslim or how a Muslim, you know? It is for them, it's a little bit strange because he's Norwegian. So they talk too much about Islam and about us. It is not good.
Norwegians are said to be fed up with their brand of what's been dubbed radical liberalism. It's the country's multicultural policies that turn the gunman against his own.
In Norway, the far-right sentiment is wider than Norwegians are ready to admit, and there's a polite and respectful attitude towards that kind of views in mainstream media. But the reality is that 50% of Norwegians are against multiculturalism.
As people here try to pick up the pieces and bring meaning to this twin attack, they're already saying it will sour relations between communities. Some expect a crackdown by police on the EU's growing far-right movements, while others fear this will only fuel resentment against Europe's Muslims.
Victims are beginning to piece back together their shattered lives, but experts warn this might not be the last such attack, as outrage at the perceived failure of a multicultural society grows. Daniel Bushell, RT, Oslo.